This video is going to contain post-game commentary, and this is only because there are some things that happen in this game that I really wanted to explain. I was just going to have background music going in there, but I figured you all might want to understand what was actually going on in this game. And oh boy, was this one here a interesting one. It was a Garbodor Espeon-EX match that had a Trev in there. I didn't actually know what the purpose of the Trevenant was. I mean, clearly he's got the Poltergeist attack, and that does a lot of damage for trains in your hand, which would be nasty with that hand right there. But I just don't really see Trevenant in these kind of decks, so it actually came to a surprise for me. I do actually believe that Trevenant or Garbodor decks are going to evolve in standard once rotation happens, to kind of include Trevenant, because decks are going to become more supporter based after we lose versus Seeker. And that could be a problem because your hand is going to be more item heavy or trainer heavy for the most part. And we might be seeing hands with like 3 to 4 different supporter cards in them. And Trevenant can punish that since you can only play one supporter card per turn. And since we are losing versus Seeker, this means people are going to be less likely to do things like Ultra Ball and discarding things like Lysander and stuff away. So we're really going to see the game shift from reckless play to more conservative play. And if the game wants to become more conservative, then that's great for me, because my deck is probably the ultimate conservative deck here. So our opponent is going to play the Tapu Lily for an N, which isn't something that I necessarily care about. I mean, my hand was okay, but I really didn't have anything to go with a supporter. One thing I would have been able to do was just, depending if I hit a supporter or not, was just attach an energy in my turn. But it looks like we're still going to be able to do something here. We have an Ultra Ball for Tapu Lily, and that's going to at least get us another Remoraid and Pidgeot down if we want to. And the Drampa comes down. So this here is pretty much what we've seen before. And of course, my only other worry at this point was if my opponent had a Jolteon in the deck, which he didn't, or at least never saw in the match. But Jolteon is going to be rotating, so I'm not going to have to worry about that as much. And the Rainbow Energy is going to come down on the Trubbish, and he's going to special charge 2 rainbows back into the deck, something that I didn't even notice was gone. But that's a thing. And special charge is going to be relevant later on in the match. So we get a energy here off the top deck, and of course I don't want to play the double because things like enhanced hammers around, so I'm glad to see the psychic energy. That means I can at least attach that. So we are going to discard Lysander and Mallow, something you're not going to be able to do post rotation because that's too big a loss. So I'm just basically checking to see what I have in my deck, and it looks like everything that I have in my deck is going to be needed there. And we have 2 Tapu Lilies in our deck. That's going to be important later on in the match, so remember that. So we're just going to do our typical, I tried to play it in the supporter slot, which is funny, but we are going to grab a supporter out of our deck, and that's probably just going to be a Pokemon fan club. 1 is prize, so that's the reason I play 2. It's sort of just in case 1 is prize, there might be another one left in the deck. I don't know how relevant that was because that could have been the only one, but it's nice to know that we at least have 1. So I was thinking we just do our usual. We got the Mallow in our hand, but we don't really have much else to work with. So I was debating for a little bit whether or not I should take Remoraid and Tapu Lily. It wouldn't have been a bad play simply because I can get a supporter next turn, but I was just thinking if he has a way to knock his Pidgeot out, then I want to be able to have another one. And having another one down means at some point I could at least end my turn with a Mega Pidgeot, which would be good. So I'm going to attach an energy to my active one, and I'm going to end my turn. Usually what I would do in a situation like that is I would put the energy on the bench Pidgeot for the just in case something happened. But our opponent is going to versus Seeker N, so I'm glad I took the other Pidgeot and not the Tapu Lily. And when a Phantom came down, that's when I was like, oh, okay. This is going to complicate things a little bit more because I know he has the Trevenant. I wasn't sure how heavy his Trevenant was, but there's a Trevenant now. So he's going to attach an energy, and he's going to energy evolution into Espeon. And Espeon is really a lot more annoying than he has to. Like, you really don't understand how tedious it is to deal with confusion when you're sitting there. So my opponent used Stomp Off and hit a DCE, which sucks, because now I can't actually sit here and wait for my opponent to do something. So as you can see, my start is bad. So I'm trying to compensate here. It's like, I have to see a card that I want. And I really want to see that DCE. But I'm trying to figure out, what do I put on the top card of my deck so he can discard, so I can essentially get what I want. And I just decide, you know what, we'll put the Pidgeot down, he could discard the Pidgeot, and then we'll go from there. Because I don't know how good this person is, but a good player would know that I'm going to compensate for the Stomp Off and not use Stomp Off and try to hit the next card I put up, which would have been the DCE, but that's not something that he's going to do. And he is just going in right now with all of these cards. He's got everything. Double Choice Band, DCE, Sycamore. So this is going to be a very tough game, because at this point I'm trying to also not play too many item cards, because you really don't want to get to the point of no return where a Garbodor just wrecks your board. And he has a Stadium, which means all of his Pokemon with a Psychic Energy have free retreat cost, but he doesn't retreat. Instead, he does the Stomp Off into the Pidgeot and gives me my DCE. Now this here is where the other problem comes in, is that Espeon now has a Choice Band and a DCE. So if I do, I'm just calculating damage here. So if I attach an energy just to knock out the Trubbish, then he knocks out my Pidgeot with the Psychic. And that's not a good trade. Playing a Pidgeot deck, you have to compromise a lot of things. You don't mind getting hit if it means at the end of the day you can still do what you want. And me putting a DCE down to knock out a Trubbish just to get knocked out by an Espeon on the bench is not a fair trade, like, at all. And on top of that, my only other attack to do will put 20 damage on the board, which makes that Drampo even more deadly. So I have Play a Versus Seeker, something I don't want to do, so I can essentially hit around something. And you know, looking back in hindsight, this was a bad play, because if he has an energy to attach to that Drampa, he just retreats to the Espeon and knocks us out anyway. So my reasoning there was, well, I guess this is okay. We'll Lysander out something that's fat, that can't retreat, like that Drampa, hit it, and then go from there. And clearly that wasn't what we did. What we should have done was just attach that energy to maybe something on the bench, like that Top with Lily, just to have it there. But our opponent also makes the same misplay and does not retreat into the Espeon and knock out my Pidgeot. So at this point, I'm like, okay, we lost the DCE, that's fine. That's going to be 60 damage my opponent can't do to me. So I just go ahead and set my top decks right now for Mallow. And I retreat, apparently. Oh, I got the free retreat cost. Okay, that makes sense. I do that so if he doesn't have an energy, he doesn't knock out a Pidgeot. I mean, the other like misplay here was I should have just put down a Remoraid and retreated into that and let him knock out the Remoraid as opposed to a 2-prize Pokemon. But yeah, that was kind of my reasoning there, is that I just don't care about the Top with Lily. And then when that happened, I actually looked at my hand and saw the Remoraid there, and I was like, oh, yep. That is exactly what I should have done. So I gave my opponent 2 prizes for no real reason at all, as opposed to the 1 I could have given him. And at least if anything, I would have forced him to have the Lysander to knock out something. That might be the other reason that I didn't choose to put down a Remoraid, was if he did have the Lysander, then I would have 3 Remoraids on the bench. And that's obviously not that bad. So I essentially keep my bench from being cluttered by just giving him 2 prizes. Because I know that if at any point in the game that my setup starts to stabilize, then my opponent's not going to be able to knock anything out, like ever again. So my goal was have 2 Mega Pidgeots and 2 Octillery, and he's not going to be able to do anything. And here I'm debating on whether or not I want to play this other Lysander, because this build here only has 2 Versus Seeker in it, and I already had to play 1. And there's already a Lysander in the discard pile. And that's my last Lysander pretty much for the entire game. So if I want to have it later, I'm not going to have it for the point that I want to take a key knockout. What I'm looking at is like I have to get something stuck for a turn. I essentially have to get down a Mega Pidgeot. So I don't know what that card is because my computer was lagging. Okay, so that is a Mega Pidgeot. And what I should do is just straight up Mega Evolve it, and that's what I choose to do. With this deck here, you don't necessarily mind Mega Evolving your Pokemon and just ending your turn. Because at the end of the day, you want your opponent to hit you. And if you let them hit you, for example, he's got 180 on this Righteous Edge, then that means that I can Mirror Move him back for 180 damage, which is what I want to do. And since Mega Pidgeot is a big body, the most damage he can do to me with that Drampa is 200 if he has a Tapu or a Professor Kukui, right? That's 50 plus that and a bunch of other stuff. And he doesn't go into the Drampa and hit me with the Righteous Edge, and he's probably just going to confuse me, and that's going to make things more annoying because I really don't like having to fight confusion. Like this, there was a reason I had the Garbodor-EX in the deck with a metal build, but so I can get around things like that Psychic for the most part. But for the Side Beam, I think it is. You know, you're taking 50 damage and you get confused, and in this matchup, 50 damage is enough to put you in a knockout range. So we hit our Stadium, which is the best top deck we could possibly get, and we got Max Potion. And we've got an N as well, so we can lower our opponent's hand size. Don't know why I put the fish down. Don't know why I played the N over doing the Octillery first, but stuff happens, I guess. We've got Mega Turbo, Max Potion, DCE. So we've got some things here that we can do, and we've got a lot of things we can do here actually. What I would like to do is just play that Mega Turbo just to get the Psychic Energy, because I really don't want to give Drampa any fuel for the most part. But probably at this point, I figure if the Drampa comes in and he does the Righteous Edge on us, then we could maybe do something and get a knockout on it the next turn. So we're just going to do the Mirror Move for 120. That's going to put the Espeon at a total of 140, which is going to allow us to knock it out at any point in the game. He also plays Tapu Lele, and he has the Tapu Cure, and that can be annoying, so I really don't want to let prizes just sit on a board. And as you see, he's got the Psychic Energy down, so he's got 3 double colorless energy on the board, potentially another one somewhere, which is the reason I kind of want to put Enhanced Hammer back in his deck, or at least the 1 Skarmory, because I could discard what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 special energy he has on a board, and that would just wreck his game. Actually, that I might actually consider doing that. So I think he's just debating on what he wants to do. He technically can retreat the Espeon for Drampa and do Righteous Edge, which is look like is what he's going to do. Again, that's not something I necessarily care about, because we have a Max Potion. We should just play the Max Potion because we really don't want to give him a free knockout, because our goal at this point is just to have a bunch of Pidgeots in the active spot that he can't do anything with. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to play the Mega Turbo. We're going to get back a Psychic Energy, and we're probably just going to Mirror Move him. I'm pretty sure we played a Birch as well. We got 3 Mallow in the discard pile, so we really have to save that Versus Seeker because it's our last one. Should just play Birch, I would think. and I don't do that. Alright, so the only way we are getting back Lysander at this point is if we play puzzle time, which we technically have. So there's a puzzle piece prize. I think what happened here was I valued having access to my Mega Pidgeot, because I really don't want to leave that prize on the board. So I think that's what I do. I just say, you know what, we're going to use our last Versus Seeker. That could be for the Lysander. And we're just going to go ahead and get another Mega Pidgeot down because we need to have it. And we took a puzzle piece as well. So we did hit the puzzle piece off the prize. That we would have access to it, but we've got double puzzle there. We've got Spirit Link, Mega Pidgeot. That's happening. I want to put in another healing card in this deck. Might put in a Super Potion. And we are going to double puzzle for the DCE because we have to knock out the Drampa. My reasoning was if we do hit the puzzle off the prize, then we at least have a another puzzle play. And that was right when I realized there that we already have 3 DCEs in the discard pile. And that's bad because I really didn't want to have to take 2 double colorless energies. I would have taken something like that Versus Seeker just to leave my options open. But after I saw the 2 DCEs in there, I was like, I have to take these DCEs. There's no way I can just leave them there. So we're just going to put this down, and we are going to get a knockout on the Drampa here, and we are going to take our first 2 prizes of the match, which is extremely good. Do you want to switch out there after Pokemon? I'm looking to see if he has a Float Stone down, and he does on the Trevenant. So I think we just make him switch because why not? You know, sometimes people make a bad play, and they bring something that's not optimal out, and he does make the optimal play there and bring up the Trevenant. But it doesn't matter because he's got the free retreat because of the Float Stone. I don't think I've seen a single Field Blower yet. I would like to get those down because we can take off at least that Float Stone, make him have to have something else. After rotation happens, I'm definitely going up to 3 Field Blower in my deck. And I can even make an argument for having 4 in the deck. And that would just be way too many. But as you see here, these tool cards, they win games. And you want to be able to have that on lockdown. I think 4 might be way too aggressive, but you do what you gotta do. And here comes the Garbodor, and that was a play that I really didn't want to see. I didn't want to see the Garbodor come down because we had to essentially play up like what 4 item cards that turn, and we just gave him 80 damage. And he's going to get another 20 damage in the discard pile with the Field Blower off my Spirit Link, and he's going to get rid of my Stadium, which is going to suck. So we still have a Tapu Lele in the deck, but we obviously want to save a Pokemon like that because we can always have it. I thought I had the Rescue Stretcher in this build, and it looks like I don't, because my real life deck, I put a Rescue Stretcher in just as a I put it in just as a placeholder. I'm not sure what I want to do with that yet. But here in this actual game here, I really wish that I had the Rescue Stretcher because it would help. And I probably see myself putting in a Rescue Stretcher and a Special Charge. Those would help. So we see the Field Blower now, but that's not necessarily a card I think I want to play, simply because I don't want to give my opponent, you know, more damage with Garbodor. So I'm counting just my number of item cards, making sure everything's manageable. As you can see on screen right now, we have what, 160 damage, and that's starting to get there. It's like, well, none of these cards my opponent has in play right now is worth having the extra 20 damage done to me, because there's always a matter of, you know, 20 damage in this game is a lot. So I decide, you know, there's no reason to play the Field Blower because nothing he has can immediately knock out a Mega Pidgeot. So I will just hold the card and go from there. But if my opponent has a Delinquent, then, you know, I'm just kind of screwed at this point. But my opponent is going to bring up the Trevenant. I'm looking at my hand and I see 4 item cards, and I'm like, that's 120 damage. And that's going to force me to play that Max Potion, which is what I don't want to do. And that's going to bring Garbodor up to 180. So he retreats, goes into the Drampa, and he's going to Righteous Edge. And this has just been a problem for me the entire match. Then he drops a Teammates. I'm like, what is this? Like, I don't think I've ever seen a Teammates in an Espeon Garb deck. Maybe they play it, but I've never seen it. And that just caught me by surprise, simply because he can get any 2 cards he wants. So there comes down the Garbodor with the tool, and he's going to lock me out of my Octillery, which sucks. I have the Field Blower, and I could remove it. But I don't think I necessarily do that, because I'm still looking at things here, and nothing is really super unmanageable. The Espeon still doesn't have a Psychic Energy on it, but it's got that Choice Band, and that's worrying. Otherwise, I would probably go into the other Mega Pidgeot and hit this Drampa. As you see, I'm looking here to figure out what to do. I'm trying to figure out where do I want to put things at. So I just put the energy here. I figured I'm still safe to attack. So I do that. I put the 130 on the Drampa, and I'm not going to switch it, because I don't want him to have to do that. I want him to have to pay the energy to retreat. He does have his Ultra out, but anything can happen here. I want him to have to use his manual retreat himself on something that's not going to be that Garb for the most part, because I don't want to give him a free switch into anything else. He technically still has a free switch into anything else, but you know, like I said, there's always a room for misplay. And he brings up the Garb, and I'm fine with the Garb, because Garb doesn't knock me out. And as you can see, I think he puts a Choice Band on it. So he plays the end. He's going to get rid of my Field Blower. And that was a little bit bad, because I was trying to save the Field Blower to get what I need. And he's going to Trash Lance us here for 180. And we have 20 health left. So if I would have played that Field Blower at any point in the game, he would have knocked out this Mega Pidgeot right here. So because I played conservatively, I did fine. I see I have the Tapu Lele right now. So my idea is I can play it, get a Mallow, and go from there. Because at this point, I forgot he had the Garbodor down. But I'm thinking I can maybe do something else here. And we get Tails on the whatchamacallit, on the flip, because Professor Birch has not been good to us once at all in this game. And we got the energy reset, and the energy reset is like really just kind of teasing us here. And I'm still trying to think about what I can do. I was like, I could play the Ultra Ball. I could. But the end is still too good. I could retreat. If he has a Lysander, he can knock out my Mega Pidgeot. So I bring up this Mega Pidgeot here. I'm like, I have to deal with the Garbodor, because if I knock that out, then we should be good. The Espeon still doesn't have an energy, which is nice. He needs to have that Psychic Energy to hit us. So I'm like, you know what? Screw it. We are going to Mock Cyclone. We're going to knock out this Garbodor. Because if the Espeon comes in and attacks us, then we knock it out with the Mega Pidgeot on the bench, and we win. We see our puzzle piece, which is nice, because that means we now have a Lysander play. Also, if he brings in the Drampa to discard our double colorless energy, we still win. So his only play he can make here is bring up the Trevenant, attach DC, attack us. Still doesn't knock us out. He only does 120. That puts us to 170. We're a big body, so we take the hit. Or he brings in the Tapu Lele, and he hits us for 100. Again, it doesn't knock us out, but we would have to do something weird and trade blows. I can hit him, he can hit me, and it's so, it'll suck. And he has another special charge. I'm like, are you kidding me? So he puts the 2 Rainbow Energy back into the deck, which is super annoying. He plays the town map, and I get to see what he's got in his prizes, and he's down a Field Blower and a Versus Seeker. And he discards our stadium, and I'm like, oh my god. He brings up the Tapu Lele, and he energy drives us. That's expected. We take 100 damage. 130. Oh, he's at the choice band. Okay, but it still wasn't enough to knock us out. And this is where things kind of get complicated. Um, looking at my hand, we have energy reset. We have puzzle of time. We got Ultra Ball. So I'm trying to just decide what I want to do. I'm like, okay, what we should do is Mach Cyclone the Tapu Lele. Because I'm trying to figure out where damage can come from. So we have to Mach Cyclone the Tapu Lele. We hit it, and we go from there. And we will discard our what are we doing? We discard Mega Pidgeot because we don't need it anymore. And we discard what, Mallow? It's either Mallow or N. We discard one of those two cards. We choose Mallow. And I'm looking. And we have Tapu Lele. So I grab Tapu Lele. And I put Tapu Lele down. I'm not trying to get an energy or a supporter here. I'm going to play the end. And this is when I realized that, oh, if he plays a Rainbow Energy on that Espeon, then he can divide GX us, and that would knock out both our Mega Pidgeots, and then we would lose. So I'm like, okay, how do we prevent this? I need a Max Potion or a way to take it. And I remember it's like, oh, I got Tapu Lele, I got Energy Reset, I got Tapu Cure, and heal both of my Mega Pidgeots, and that will essentially be the game. Because we have to take 2 more prizes, and we're good. So that's exactly what we do here. We Tapu Cure, we heal both of our Pidgeot GXs, and we're fine. And at this point, I'm like, thank you. Because we would have lost. All he had to do was play a Rainbow Energy, or I could have shuffled him into it with N, which I'm sure he has a Rainbow Energy in his hand now. But because of that, we now have 2 completely healed Mega Pidgeots, which is great. Because if he attacks us and knocks us out with the Drampa, then we knock it out with a Mega Pidgeot. And I also forgot that he didn't use his GX attack as well. So he could do a Tapu Cure as well. And it actually kind of surprised me when he did that, because I assumed that he had used his GX attack already. So I'm just checking resources. I still see that I have 2 puzzles left in my deck. We took one off the prizes. We didn't actually play any. So we still have 2 puzzles left, which is going to be our win condition. We hit something once with a Mega Pidgeot, then we hit it again. I'm assuming we see our 2 puzzle pieces. So he plays the Rainbow Energy, which I shuffled him into. And he is going to take my lead, and he's going to Tapu Cure us as well. Of course, after Lysandering out my artillery. So I'm looking at things that I have, and I figure there's no more Trebuchets on the board, so I don't necessarily care about, playing any items. At this point, I already consider that I'm at the point of no return, so there's no reason in holding on to these cards anymore. But we are going to get rid of the tool on the Garbodor and Garbodor. And that's going to allow us to see what we want again. And we will, I assume, attach his energy to Mega Pidgeot just to have it. And we will Abyssal Hand, try to hit a switch. Because we can hit this Tapu Lele right now, it'll be good. And we draw into a switch, which is super nice. So we will play the switch on a Mega Pidgeot. Now, I do make a bad play here. I play the other Field Blower for no reason at all. Just to get rid of Choice Band, something that I'm already not worried about. I should have saved it so I could remove a tool that came down in that Garbodor again. But that's not what we do. And I will Mach Cyclone this for 130. The reason I'm not playing this Ultra Ball for the other artillery is because my other artillery is prized. So I essentially only had 1 the entire game. And I'm checking to see what my opponent has here. And my opponent doesn't have much left. So his only option is retreat the Tapu Lele, bring up probably the Drampa, and just Righteous Edge us. So that's going to be annoying as well, because he's just been hitting all of our DCE, and we don't actually have a real way to recover them outside of Puzzle of Time. So our opponent is going to play an N. He's going to put us down to 2, which I'm fine with because that basically cycles my hand. I get to see what I want. But we draw into a puzzle piece, which isn't what I really wanted to see, because if I hit an Ultra Ball, I want to be able just to burn the Ultra Ball. And, well, that's what we do. We hit an Ultra Ball, and now I can't play the Ultra Ball. So I'm like, we'll just Abyssal for 2, and we hit our last puzzle piece. And this here is actually going to be the game. So there were a lot of things that happened in this game. I made some misplays that I'm definitely going to keep an eye out for next time. My opponent made a couple of misplays as well. But at the end, my Pidgeot deck is a superior deck to most of the meta right now. And when it plays right, it just works. So, GG to my opponent. And I do hope you all enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.